The Orlando, Florida shooting that occurred on June 12, 2016, killing 50 people, has hence been classified as America's deadliest lone wolf massacre. The recent shooting reminds us yet again that as a country we should find it paramount to address the unacceptable amounts of American massacres in the past several decades. As we mourn frequent massacres in the United States, analyzing national trends of homicides and suicides becomes increasingly more important in addressing this issue. This is quite a tentative topic, but necessary in recovering from and preventing such incidents from severely harming American citizens yet again. Admittedly, this video addresses only one of the many facets of mass shootings in America. Many elements can funnel into the perpetuation of a massacre, such as mental health, law enforcement training, and domestic terror, but current lax gun laws in the U.S. also certainly seem to be ineffective in stopping this pervasive issue. Recently, the United States has been afflicted with familiar, frequent, and violent gun massacres, such as Newtown, San Bernardino, Santa Monica, Kalamazoo, Chattanooga, Charleston, Colorado Springs, Omaha, Orlando, among many other incidents, which continue to set the pace for an American cycle surrounding massacres: to lose, mourn, recover, and forget. Despite falling crime rates from 1981 to 2014, the Center for Disease Control estimates that the U.S. averages about 12,000 gun murders every year. That is roughly the same amount of students that currently attend Yale University. Alongside this, other statistics from the Department of Defense, the CDC, and the CDF cite that nearly 3 times more young people between the ages of 0 to 19 were injured by firearms in 2010 than the number of U.S. soldiers wounded in action that year in the war in Afghanistan. Another surprising statistic cites that more deaths in the hands of gunfire have occurred than traffic deaths in 21 U.S. states. The Gun Violence Archive has recorded that roughly 42,000 incidents of encounters with guns have led to the deaths of over 11,000 Americans since the beginning of this year alone. A 5-year data collection by the Center for Disease Control found that gun violence through homicide, suicide, legal intervention, and accidental incidents together kill on average 91 Americans every day. The CDC and GVA draw the correlation between gun ownership and these fatal risks. They cite that many consumers can purchase a gun in the U.S. with little to no training and loopholes that don't require background checks for consumers at some gun shows and on the internet. This is probably because the National Rifle Association and other Second Amendment supporters and lobbyists argue that
the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun
is a good guy.
Good guy.
There's a good guy with a gun.
However, FBI researchers like Dr. Pete Blair find that a weak argument in comparison to the deeply concerning status quo. In his study between 2000 to 2013, Blair found that while incidents of a good guy with a gun stopping a criminal shooter can occur, it happens roughly 3% of the time. In 1 out of every 5 incidents, a shooter is subdued by victims or bystanders without arms. This means that the notion of arming civilians for their own safety is both flawed and unrealistic. Law enforcement professionals require a lifetime of training to accurately address active shooter events, and oftentimes even the law enforcement can overestimate or underestimate dangerous situations. So, with this pressing issue and a seemingly inadequate way to facilitate a good guy with a gun solution, what is stopping us from ensuring the safety of all civilians by making it much more difficult for a bad guy to get a gun, thereby putting our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the foreground?
Can you imagine being a parent of a little child who saw this scene that you're looking at right now?
Our unalienable right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, those rights were stripped.
Children will be asking their parents about the reality of what unfolded there
from college
at their
kids
elementary school
in Blacksburg and Santa Barbara.
It seems so unusual to me that a gunman could create this kind of havoc.
And from high schoolers at Columbine. And from first graders in Newtown.
My little girl is so full of
Armed,
life.
as you can see, they're heavily armed, many of them carrying their
Every gunshot I heard, I was hoping it wouldn't hit
weapons
any of my friends.
to try to
Are there any survivors?
find out really what unfolded here.
First graders. And from every family who never imagined that their loved one would be taken from our lives by a bullet from a gun.
Have a realistic fear that they're in danger, they're sitting ducks. These gun-free school zones are the problem. I mean, could you imagine right now if I drew a circle, right, around myself, and I said this is a zombie-free zone, and then there's zombies coming from here, and there's zombies coming from there, and I put up a sign, I say this is a zombie-free school zone. Guess what? I'm going to be eaten.
That is stupid on steroids.